Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Belgian Football Podcast. My name is Ben Jackson, and I'm back to host this one once again. And we are back as a trio as well. Joris has returned. Scott's obviously still here. It's good to be back together again as a trio, guys. How are you doing this evening?
I'm very well, and I hope you all are as well.
Yeah, I mean, when Ben says Scott's still here, well, he's literally there. He's just always there. I mean, it feels like it's been ages since we sat together with the three of us, but Scott's always there. And is Losada already the new Sint Truiden manager, guys?
Don't even start on that. No, yeah, Scott's first name on the team sheet at the moment. Me and Joris are on rotation, and Antoine's our super sub. But yeah, Scott first name on the team sheet. But yes, if you listened to our last podcast, you did hear me and Scott talk about Losada, which then, by the time it dropped, they'd kind of said no, then they were yes again, then they were no, then they were yes again, and now Franken's the manager of Sint Truiden. So we completely disregarded that as an option. We thought that was ludicrous, but hey, shows what we know, I guess. Either way, we'll get to that because, yeah, he takes over in a pretty decent position after this weekend. I'll quickly run through the results. So on Friday night, Westerlo and Charleroi drew 2-2. Kortrijk beat Beerschot 3-2. Sint Truiden beat Cercle Brugge 3-1. Union beat Anderlecht 2-0. Ghent won a game. Feels like forever since they won a game. They beat Antwerp 1-0, who it is forever since they won a game. Mechelen drew 1-1 with Leuven. Club beat Genk 1-0. Obviously, we'll have to talk a lot about that game. And because of that game, I think a lot of people probably missed Dender 1, Standard Liège 1. I didn't even know it had taken place until I just looked us there. That's how irrelevant that game was. But we'll talk about that for sure. So we'll quickly get to Westerlo Charleroi. I think after this game, after the kind of result came in, it was 2-2. Scott, you said this is like the best result for Mechelen because, again, it's a close rival dropping points. They then obviously couldn't take advantage, as we've just heard, but absolute kick in the teeth for Charleroi because it looks like they've won it right at the death before Griffin Yao pops up with that goal. I haven't looked at numbers, but it looks like Stulic seems to quite enjoy scoring against Westerlo. That's another goal he scored there. He got one earlier in the week in the year, so nice for him to score. But again, any kind of draws in this playoff too, they just don't really suit either team at this point. Like it's just for Westerlo, it just kind of keeps them away from the hunt. Whereas for Charleroi, it gave other sides an opportunity to leapfrog them and kind of put more pressure on them. But unfortunately, no one took that option.
Yep, a fiercely competitive game for the most part. And despite thinking and looking like they'd won it late on, arguably this was a really good point for Charleroi in the end. Westerlo actually were better, and Timmy Simons actually had quite a lot to say afterwards about he was disappointed they didn't win it, but he felt they were the only side trying to win the game. He thought Charleroi were kind of quite negative and a bit cynical for most of the game from quite early on. But yeah, I mean, that's the thing. I mean, a draw doesn't help you when that playoff's that tight at all. You know, you have to win games. Charleroi couldn't see this one out, and obviously Mechelen had about 1 billion chances to win comfortably against Leuven and couldn't do it either. So it's going to go to the wire, this playoff. That we can say for certain.
Yeah, the main moment of this game, I guess, was before the game. A nice tribute to Tony Bronjo, former player from both sides. And I believe he's actually even currently still Westerlo's club top scorer as well, who relatively recently, I don't know, it's been a while now, but relatively recently got diagnosed with liver cancer as well. So a nice tribute from both. From Westerlo for organizing that, I guess, and from Charleroi as well for giving that a place in this game before this game. But indeed, on this game itself, 23 shots, 6 on target for Westerlo. They will have hoped for more. Okay, 2 goals out of 6 shots on target is actually not too bad a ratio, but yeah, it's more like they also hit the woodwork multiple times as well. So that is our no shots on target, but very close to goal nonetheless. And Charleroi missing a chance to actually get a lead or like run away a little bit, but especially like looking at the other results. But ultimately, I guess a draw is more than they probably deserved in this one, and a draw away from home as well. I guess that's also still maybe the distinction we can make here for now. But that whole playoff is still very open, very much open, obviously.
Yeah, especially after this weekend where no one wanted to win. No one taking advantage. That's kind of a theme of this weekend when we get into the second tier, where no one really wanted to do something they needed to do. That's for sure. Kortrijk did what they needed to do against Beerschot, but flipping heck, it was difficult and it shouldn't have been as difficult. But it goes back to what we said last week that Beerschot they're kind of put themselves in and about despite having absolutely nothing to play for. When Henderson scored that goal, you could just imagine that the relief in Sint Truiden circular was just massive, because they're like, if Kortrijk had dropped points here, you'd be worried that that's probably it for them. Whereas, Jean-Kevin Duverne, guys, he's never scored more than one goal in a season, and he's 27. He's scored 4 goals this year in 10 games. He's an absolute machine. He's just free scoring defender. What a signing he's been. Ferry scored, but that was, I thought it was a much better goal than it was, but I think it took a deflection, so I'm going to discredit it a little bit. Looked like they'd done what they needed to do to get back to 2-1, and I was like, okay, now they've got it to kind of build some momentum, and they just concede straight away. And honestly, I think if the Kalasin goal had been disallowed, Kout would have strangled the linesman. Like, I've never seen a club look so offended with having nothing to play for. Like, they look like this is a conspiracy theory against us. And to be fair, I don't know what the linesman gave. Like, there's nothing in that for offside. Like, it was clearly onside. It just seemed a bit ridiculous, and it seems like he was just there to piss Kout and Beerschot off. So fair play, he did that job pretty well. Eventually, obviously, they do win. Kadri with an assist, Messertu with the goal. It's just a massive, massive win for them given the results elsewhere. They then get to play Beerschot again. They obviously need to win that one again, but it's just, you're getting worried if you're Cercle Brugge at the moment, if you're a Cercle Brugge fan, because Kortrijk look good. Bernd Storck is just, he's just clearly the man that can keep clubs up no matter what. And he's the man that you want in this situation. I think if Sint Truiden, like, they went through all those managers, they should have just gone and got Bernd Storck all those months ago, and they'd be mid-table and absolutely fine. But kudos to Beerschot again, putting themselves about, trying to be spoiler, but that is just, a huge 3 points for Kortrijk that they simply had to get.
Well, I think we can say that the good Dr. Storck has definitely got Kortrijk back in the hunt for safety. That's unquestionable now, and that in itself, frankly, is remarkable. I mean, even I didn't think on this time. I thought this was a step too far, even for him. But there you go. There you go. Is there nothing this man can't do? That's 4 wins in their last 5 now, under Storck as well. So in terms of their form's not only improving, but as is their consistency. So, I mean, they've got to be quite confident that, they can nick safety now, even if they have to do it ultimately the hardest way by winning the playoff final. I mean, they've got to be feeling good, because they're the one side down there at the moment, actually, that probably are the most consistent at the moment, and have some sense of momentum about them as well. There's a word we've never used with Kortrijk, just about momentum. Very, very strange. On Beerschot, a couple of things worth noting. Not particularly in relation to this game, but obviously we know they're relegated now. Financially, they are on course for losses somewhere in the region of €7 million. That's projected based on their life in the CPL next season, and the difference in budgets that will be required there. Now, that might not seem like a lot of money to most listeners, but a deficit of 7 million at that level is pretty significant, I think, and goes a long way to explaining why the owners are looking to sell for a number of reasons. So if you're looking to pick up a Belgian club pretty cheaply, then Beerschot are front and forward in the window at the moment. But I think things aren't looking too rosy operationally off the pitch from a Beerschot perspective next season, not just because of the relegation, but for a whole host of other reasons as well. So they've got some tough choices ahead in the next few weeks to get things in order. And of course, they're still trying to get their licence We should know by this time next week whether they've got that. If they haven't, they've got the arbitration court to go to. That would be their last port of call. But they are hoping to submit some transfer certificates proving that they've made very, very late payments that were still outstanding, I think, just today. So there could be more news on them next week. But yeah, all eyes on Kortrijk at the moment. And that relegation playoff, that's the one to keep an eye on at the moment. I never thought I would say this because last year I didn't enjoy the relegation playoff. The quality of football was generally very poor for reasons that are quite understandable. This season it's been a bit better, and there's a genuine sense of tension and excitement. And even we don't know where this one's going at the moment. It's absolutely flipping week to week.
Populist comment. Yeah, you can also throw the 7 million of Beerschot, which is like small cash, as Scott is mentioning to me. I'll be happy to take it. It's not that much, I know. Yes, but I'll make a living. I'll make a living out of it. It's okay. But apart from that, I mean, the Vlaming for now also starting last week. He was already the fourth goalkeeper at Kortrijk this season, and now he even got a start as well. Ambrose played his 100th Jupiler Pro League game. I almost had written down. Then he also scored a goal, but I was mistaken because it was. Yeah, I had it wrong in my head. And then I watched the highlights again. I was like, oh no, it was Ferry. It was the other striker that actually scored. Duverne scoring once again indeed as well. Like Ben mentioned, maybe someone needs a striker of the top sides, and they might look for him. And also, Kortrijk now scoring 3 times for the second week in a row after not having done that the whole season before that. So that shows their consistency and the flow they're in, I guess, as well. The first game as well, they of course also scored twice. And also there's a lot of late goals in this playoff so far as well. There was the crucial one to keep Kortrijk alive at that time against Club Brugge. Now this winner also came late. The Beerschot have lost again as well to in really late on 2 weeks in a row now. They did give away the point they had in hand. Not that it matters for them, but for the other sides they're playing, there's clearly something, and it's still whether they win or lose. Also, Beerschot, to be honest, Beerschot are also very consistent. They lost their last 4 games with 1 goal difference. So that's quite consistent. Not in a good way, unfortunately. And ultimately, even that would not have mattered if they would have won all those games. Then it still would have been tough, I guess. And maybe in theory, there would have been a mathematical chance still that they would be able to survive. But I doubt. For Kortrijk, they're doing what they need to do. Whether it will be enough, I'm not sure. I'm also not sure if the result that happened in the other game, which we will talk about very shortly, is really in their favor. Last week, you guys also were talking about very worried about for Sint Truiden how it's again swinging to Cercle. It is indeed a bit between those two, of course. So this might swing back next week as well when the reverse fixtures have taken place. No. Sorry, that's incorrect. Not next week because there's no games in the relegation playoffs next week. But that's the next weekend. After the next game in general, anyways. But yeah, interesting to see how it goes. I still feel like they might that draw they got was very necessary. They got that draw. I think it still is gonna be the point where they lost it for the season. For grabbing one of the two other sides and leapfrogging at least one of them. I think it's still too far, but there's still a chance.
Yeah, I think it all depends on. They've got to beat Beerschot next week, next weekend, before we get confusing. The next time they play football, they need to win, basically, is what we're saying. And then, the Sint Truiden Cercle game kind of messes everything up a little bit in terms of it just made everything really tight and compact down there, even more than we probably thought it was going to be. Because I thought Cercle would be okay. I thought they'd go into here because just absolute chaos at St Truiden leading up to this. Like Mazu gone, no one in Franken on holiday in the US, not starting till Tuesday, blah blah blah. But now he's got time, and I think as appointments go, I think that I wrote about this earlier in the week. I think that's going to be enough for them to stay above ground, because I think this game showed they've got goals, and I think that's what so many of these other clubs just do not have. Like, you look at the goals scored of the teams in this, they've got 45. The next highest is Kortrijk with 36, and Circa with 34. Beerschot obviously with 29, but they don't really count. But they just have more goals on their side, and Bertuccini's first, just that is kind of the Bertuccini goal, isn't it? It's kind of playing off that last man, getting in behind. Brahimi finally bloody passed the ball. Got to be the first time he's ever passed to him. That must be his first assist of the season. I was like, he's not going to pass, is he? He's going to do something stupid and shoot. He then next time did do something stupid and shoot, but it was such a good strike. Like, what a hit. Abubakari Koita.
It was the last time he passed the ball.
Yeah, that's it, isn't it? He's shooting from that range every single time. Diakite's goal was really good as well. Like, it was just this moment of like fantastic goals within the space of a couple of minutes. But you look at, especially the first one and the second one, like Circle are so open at the back, it's ridiculous. Like, they've given St Truiden so much space, and that's what this St Truiden team wants to do. Like, Bertuccini just wants to run into space. Like, he'll run channels, he'll run back in behind, that sort of stuff. Like, if you push up, he's just going to sit there and he's going to wait, and he'll get caught offside a couple of times, but at some point he's going to time his run perfectly, like he did for the third, and finish it off. And yeah, it's just, I think I said it to you guys, didn't I, when as that kind of the game is going on, this just highlights to me the difference between a side that has strikers that can score goals and a side that just doesn't have anyone that can really put the ball in the back of the net. And you're relying on players like Diakite to score. You're relying on, last week it was Perrin obviously that scored. So yeah, I think massive confidence boost for St Truiden. Now they'll get Franken in. I think what will happen is they'll have confidence in him as much as he'll have like confidence in himself to turn things around. But I was surprised he took the job before this game. I thought he'd at least wait for this game to kind of play out and then decide if he wanted it or not. But it's a good, I think at this, for the level of where they are, I think it's a great coach to get in if they stay up, and it'd be quite exciting going into next season, because I think he needed to step down to a club kind of in the middle to lower reaches of Belgian football to rebuild his kind of career. And I think St Truiden could be a good one for him to do it at. Whereas for Cercle, onto their third man in De Wolf, and it's a struggle. It's a struggle now for them, because they have to get something out of this reverse fixture for me.
Well, Joris, was such an interesting game, this one, and one of the ones I was looking forward to watching the most this weekend. St Truiden deserved to win it and could have won it by a lot more than the 3 that they did actually get. Such was their kind of open and expansive play, and they just looked up for it. They were really direct, looking to get the ball up top as quickly as possible and exploit the space that Cercle were leaving for them. I was trying to figure out for the entire game, and still haven't, even post-game, what Cercle's game plan actually was from a tactical perspective in this game, because they were just kind of all over the place, really. And for a game that's so important, I mean, if they'd won this game, they would have been almost there, really. I mean, such was the importance of it. So to perform so poorly just says a lot, obviously, about the pressure in these situations, I think. But unbelievably deserved for St Truiden. That Cercle side, by the way, that started this game, that 11 have only scored 11 goals between them all season. Now, obviously, there's been rotation and, the starting 11 changes, but, when you look at that as a simple number, that's simply horrifying. And you do worry for them now, because I was saying last week that they have generally been creating enough chances to win games. We know that the problem is not taking those chances and not scoring enough goals. And not only did they not create enough, they didn't score enough this weekend. So even the kind of creative aspect was absent this weekend. So a number of questions for them. And coming into the next game, the game at home against St Truiden, then that, I think, is a must-win game for them, really. There's no playing for a draw on that, I don't think. I don't think that helps them. They simply have to win that. On Vranken, obviously he's a bit of a club legend, really. Around 200 games for St Truiden, I think, during that 5-year spell. Well, 5-year spell as a senior player, of course, because he started his career there before being advised to chuck the job he was going to take before going into football. He was told, no, you're too good. Don't get a day job. You're going to be a footballer, son. So it happened. Another thing about Rankin, actually, is he only allowed to be T1 at clubs that he's played for? Because that's the way his CV's panning out. And I just thought I'd throw that out there because it's quite amusing. A lot of people have been talking about that this week. But, I find that kind of quite funny, coming back to one of his old clubs. I think there was probably a feeling, certainly amongst the St Truiden support, that this marriage would probably happen at some point. They didn't necessarily expect it to happen now and in these circumstances. Like Ben, I think on balance it's probably a decent appointment. I think he came in on the understanding that even if things don't go our way and St Truiden do go down, which is still in the balance but a little bit less likely after this weekend's result, that he would go down with them and bring them back. So I think there was no, unlike the Losada negotiations, where I think a big element of that was holding back and not being fully committal on that, and unless Losada could save them. I think Rankin's been much more kind of pragmatic about it, which he's had to be. I think the players seem quite happy with that appointment. Some have said so this week. They're kind of comfortable with that. Nice to see Felix Mazu sending lots of messages to the players this week as well. I mean, I did wonder whether that going off the boil, which St Truiden had done, was really to do with Mazu and the atmosphere in the camp, or something else. But I don't think it was, because I think he was working very hard there, and obviously sometimes you just need to make that change to change the atmosphere. But yeah, I think it's a decent appointment and a good one from Rankin's perspective as well, because I think his next move was always going to be very important. He needed to go somewhere where he could rehabilitate his career a little bit, because despite obviously going within seconds of winning that title at Genk, we know things ultimately didn't work out for him there, and that step up that he was looking to make when he left Mechelen hasn't really worked out for him, either Genk or Ghent. So he had to go to a club where, I think he's perhaps better suited to. So I think it's a reasonable fit, and it'll be interesting to see if they can stay up, how they do next season, because we know he likes to play good football. Question is whether he can continue to do that on that pitch. But they played very well this weekend and were actually good to watch. And like I was saying, could have won this by a lot more than the 3 that they did.
Yeah, I'm a bit more skeptical on Franke than I feel like it's too early for him to already settle for Sint Truiden. Like, his career in a year, it's really went down, at least club-wise, with all due respect to Sint Truiden as well, of course, but like going from Genk to Ghent to now, not even a year later, or I think more or less a year later now, specifically, being in the relegation playoffs, simple as that. I also don't know, like in what I saw in the press release or on the website, like it really looks like a short-term appointment so far, so I'm not sure about what Scott is saying, but maybe you have read up a bit more already on it. But like, if it's for more than those 3 or potentially 5 games, that he would be appointed. But anyway, for him, I'm not so sure. For Sint Truiden, it probably is a good one, though. I believe so. It's a risky one anyway for both sides, but I also feel like, talking about the chances and so on, I do indeed fear for Cercle. From the 3 of Sint Truiden, Kortrijk, and Cercle Brugge, if it's either of the other 2 going into these playdowns or this playoffs with the Challenger Pro Leagues side, I'm quite certain they will beat them. But with Cercle, it's the first time this season, I think, but I have a bigger fear because of that whole goal scoring issue, for sure. And partially also with how things are panning out in the Challenger Pro League itself as well. That's an indirect factor, of course, as well, that they can't influence. But That's a bit worrying indeed. Bertaccini now top scorer together with Tolu. A nice battle going on there. It's for sure. And well, another news off the pitch for Sint Truiden. They've had quite a few this week. They didn't provide us with little things there, but Patrice extension as well. Well, his signing actually, I guess, taking over. Converting his loan into a purchase. And Lamkelzee, of course, being back in the squad and even starting already immediately as well. Not a weird move maybe from the outside at least, but also from the inside I can believe, but that I can't judge myself. But strange, and for and Cercle Brugge, of course, definitely need a win now. Indeed, in that reverse fixture, just no attacking prowess. And like Scott mentioned, I mean, Bertaccini alone scored more goals than the whole starting level of Cercle Brugge this weekend. So yeah, that's something they will have to find a remedy for, at least maybe more at the back, and then hopefully they can squeeze something in. And yeah, then everything's still possible. I mean, we're not writing them off, but yeah, not the most confident in them at the moment for sure.
Yeah, they've just got to get something at the Bridal next week. It really just need to turn around quite quickly to give them some confidence. I think going into the game, they then have, I believe they have Kortrijk after that anyway, so it's like that has so much riding on it straight off the bat. If Beerschot win and then if Kortrijk beat Beerschot and Cercle lose or draw to Sint Truiden. Speaking about goal scoring and not having problems scoring goals, or maybe not having problems taking their chances, is Union. They beat Anderlecht 2-0. Eitel had scored against his former club. Will he celebrate? Won't he celebrate? He absolutely did celebrate. He was running around with the Union flag at the end, all that sort of stuff. A lot of, and this is my own kind of, hold my hands up, this is probably a bit of me as well. A lot of kind of my attention on Union in terms of goals has been kind of highlighted. Franjo Ivanovic, I've been thinking about him a lot and thinking of him as this kind of star striker, but got to talk about Promise David. Really got to talk about Promise David. That's 19 goals for the season in all competitions, 14 in the league. And just think this man was playing in Estonian football last year for Nõmme Kalju, where he scored 14 goals in 16 games. That's a pretty decent return, but no offence to our friends at the Estonian Football Podcast, the levels are slightly different between the top flight in Estonia and the top flight in Belgium. But he's just come in and he's getting his shirt ripped off him. He's a bit of a beast. He's scoring goals. He's quite fun to watch. He's only 23 years old. It's just another one, like just another example of them scouting players in places that people don't normally scout. He scored again, like I said, this weekend. Just a great win for them. I saw Den Donker getting absolutely ripped to shreds by Frankie van der Elst in the extra time show, calling him passive and basically being like, you've got to do something if you're a number 6. And he knew a bit about playing number 6, to be fair to him, didn't he? So maybe he has things to stand on. But it just made me think that's like, there's been a lot of talk about how they're not going to make that signing permanent, and I'm not really surprised. I don't think he's been worth whatever it is. I can't remember what the fee is that they kind of agreed, but in their position, it's just not worth making that signing when he hasn't had a massive impact on the squad. For them, it's just the difference in class between the two Brussels sides, isn't it, this season? Was kind of highlighted in that, and the way they were kind of just even. I felt like from the start of the game, guys, I don't know if you agree, but Union just looked more physical. They looked more aggressive. They looked sharper. They just looked like they were confident in themselves and more up for it. Whereas Anderlecht didn't, and you're just like, there's no way Hazi's getting the job at the end of this, even if he wins the cup, surely. But you know he's going to win the cup, don't you? He's going to win the cup and get the job, but it's just Anderlecht fans will be tearing all their hair and their neighbours' hair out because it's clearly not like it's not helped them compete at this level. It's just such a weird appointment for this time of the season. It just makes no sense. I still can't get my head around it, to be honest.
Well, there's absolutely no doubt that Brussels is yellow and blue, not just after this result, but just like generally and has been for a while. Anderlecht fans won't like me saying that. In fact, Molenbeek fans probably won't like me saying it actually either. But, they are the team of the city. And to underline that, Alex Muzio, the president of Union Saint-Gilloise, was wearing a T-shirt that said Bruxelles on it this weekend at the game. So he was drawing a literal underline under that. Hello, Alex. I'm sure you're listening. Nice T-shirt, by the way, which the cameras caught nice full on at halftime. I did spot that. I like to. I don't tend to go and pour myself a beer or anything else at halftime during games when I'm not at a game. I like to keep my eyes on the screen because obviously the cameras switch around, of course, and you see all sorts of interesting stuff, like what Alex is wearing on his T-shirt, stuff like that. That's the kind of content I'm here for. Anyway, they were really good this weekend, Union. Really, really good. And as Ben was saying, it was a proper physical game. There was a lot of argy-bargy, a lot of dueling going on. As you expected this game to kind of be. Anderlecht, toothless, absolutely bloody toothless. You know what I mean? We should just call it what it is. Offensively, just nothing, offering nothing there. The kind of key players that you expect to be able to put in half a performance, dying of mediocrity. In all honesty, I can, on one level, understand Hazi's frustration with the lack of quality. He talks publicly about the need for the quality to go up. We all know what the issues are, and he's calling it out in public, and right to do that. But then he does this thing in the touchline that he tends to do when things aren't going his side's way. Kick water bottles. He likes to shout and gesticulate, and abuse the fourth official and all of that stuff. And I'm watching it and I'm thinking to myself, if I'm in that Anderlecht team and confidence isn't that high and you're not playing that well and you need to get better, I don't really want to see that in the corner of my eye. It's not, I don't look at that and think, oh, this is really motivating. I really want to play for Besnik. I feel good about playing for you, Dad. Do you know what I mean? It's a body language thing. It's not good. And I think he needs to moderate that and try and approach things a little bit differently. Obviously, he is who he is. He can't fundamentally change that. But someone really needs to say to him, look, just cool it a bit, because it's not something players are going to respond well to, I think, when they already know the issues. Only one win in their last 14 now. Anderlecht have against Union. 10 of those games Union have won. So yeah, Brussels is definitely yellow and blue. Promise David, which Ben mentioned, I've got some notes on him, funnily enough. You look offensively at Union, Promise David, as Ben was saying, has got 14 in the league. Ivanovic has got 14 in the league as well. After them both having a slowish start, they've really worked up a strong head of steam and a good partnership there. And it just goes back to the good recruitment model again at Union. They're bringing in young players who are hungry, and as we know, they've got that really interesting bonus system, which adds to motivating these players, which kind of continues to work. They give it time. They allow the players to bed in, and it's working again. And we're seeing the same thing. If you look at Anderlecht's numbers, Dolberg's the only one with 14 that can match those numbers, and he hasn't been able to stay fit. When he's been good, he's been really good. But again, they're overly reliant on him, and I think the next top scorer after him, I think, might be Vasquez on 4. So we can see kind of where the problems are. Union's next 4 fixtures are where it's really at for them. Their season is going to be those next 4 games: Genk away, Club at home, and Genk at home. That is going to tell us where they're going to finish almost certainly. If they can do well in that, then they may be rewarded in a way that they haven't been in recent years. But yeah, very exciting run of fixtures for them there. And it's going to be really interesting to see how they do, because they have been very efficient, even when they haven't necessarily been playing that well. Union, they've still been getting the job done, and at this stage of the season in the playoffs, that's really what matters. You don't necessarily have to put in a great performance in a game, but you have to take the chances that you create. And they did that this weekend as well, because again, not creating that much, but the killer instinct is there enough, and there are enough players willing to take opportunities to give you confidence that they're probably going to get a result, especially in recent weeks, not creating necessarily that much in terms of clear-cut opportunities, but scoring with the opportunities they get and getting the points. And that's what it's all about. And for Anderlecht, I don't know where they go from here. Obviously, the cup final's coming up in a few weeks. They've got 4 games before that, but they just need to get some points to try and get some confidence about them. Otherwise, that cup final is going to be, the worst bag of nerves imaginable for them. I agree with Ben. I think whether they win the cup final or not, I don't think Hazi's the man. I really don't. Yeah, and I can't see him changing my mind on that one now.
So my main takeaway out of all that is, Alex, if you're listening, and if you need protection from a bald man with a beard and some glasses and with a Scottish accent, please let us know. You know where to find us. But okay, no, all jokes aside, definitely Union performing really well, taking their chances, performing like Scott was alluding at, maybe not even that well necessarily, especially in the Anderlecht game. They were really not at their best themselves, but they didn't need to be. That's also off the topic, of course. But yeah, they took the 2 shots on target they got. Maybe they got a few after the second goal as well, but they scored their first 2 shots on target, much like they did in Ghent, where they also not necessarily completely suffered, but were not at their best in the first half an hour, and then took their 3 first shots on targets, and the game was over. In this case, it took a bit longer to make the decider in the game against Anderlecht, but nonetheless, they were not gonna win this in any under any circumstance. It felt like. Yeah, the one caveat, which goes together with Scott mentioning their next 4 games, of course, that they have indeed won, and then won convincingly against, at least in scoreline, in against the 3 weaker sides, but they also played the 3 weaker sides in the playoffs at the moment, so they did their job, and they now indeed need to step it up, and you'll see maybe the next game against Genk might already tell us a lot more, if they can carry their confidence that they're having now, for sure, and the belief they definitely will have built on this as well, to also perform in these 4 top games as well. And they really need to be on it from the start, of course. Even if they already would already lose that first one, the world already looks a lot worse. If they win it, then everything is really open already. So this is a very crucial game in the playoffs for both sides. For sure. Yeah, funny mentioning Aitel Hutch indeed scoring against both his former sides in recent week, actually, and the way of celebrating was slightly different. I personally also hope I don't need to see what he does it after next weekend game, but even if so, then it still will be interesting to see what his reaction will be. But against Genk, he was he was apologizing more or less for scoring, and really still has some people. Well, it's also more recent, of course, so he might know a bit more people still from that squad. Anderlecht, this hasn't been that far either way, and the celebration was slightly different indeed. Union, and also 15 clean sheets for Union. That could be a crucial factor, of course, as well. Now also 2 out of 3 in the playoffs. So that well, with the defense, you always win championships. At least that's how the saying goes. At least, and then Hazi not winning this time in the Duden Park. He did manage to do so with Kaveh Mechelen, ironically, as well, earlier this season. In the one game, I believe that Union lost this. One of the few games Union lost this calendar year. Anderlecht indeed still haven't won in there at the Duden Park since a return. And Hazi with the worst start of an Anderlecht manager ever. That's, of course, again a bit a bit of a cliche, maybe, well, not cliche, but like it's a bit unfair to him given the circumstances he started it. No one, I don't think many managers have started right inside the playoffs with one of the weaker sides in those playoffs anyway, and then playing against all the three teams that are considered better as well. So like the opposite thing of what goes for Union, maybe we can still use a little bit in defense of Hazi, even though the performances in general have not been good enough for sure either. And now after this loss and other results, the fourth place, of course, is also really coming under pressure. But for I suppose for him and them, the approach will be that their real playoffs start next weekend as well, and then to try to protect that fourth spot in the league still. And they have a good opportunity for that as well against the side that's also struggling.
You segued that very nicely to me. Yep, they're facing Antwerp next week, who lost again a side that sacked Joris de Rock on the 3rd of March, and since then they've picked up 1 point from 5 games, which was a 0-0 draw against Standard Liège. They've then lost 1-0 to Ghent twice, 5-1 to Union, 3-2 to Club Brugge as well, although we kind of spoke about the game last week. It could have been a lot more than just the 3-2. It probably should have been a lot more than 3-2. The goal was comical. Like, really, I don't know what they were doing at the back for this one. Fadiga scoring. Nice to see Fadiga scoring after what happened to him earlier in the season. But yeah, if they lose that game to Anderlecht, next week, it kind of I guess they'll need Anderlecht to win the cup or club. They'll need Anderlecht to win the cup, I think, won't they? In that case, if they're to have a chance of kind of sneaking into 5th. No, Joris is snaking his head at me. I just don't understand how this whole system works. Someone needs to win the cup.
Someone in a high position, so that's why.
That's right.
Yes.
Club Brugge need to win the cup. Okay, cool. So Antwerp want Club to win the cup. It's just, I never know which way around it is. But yeah, they'll potentially getting cut adrift, which is, again, we spoke about it at the beginning of the season, like transition year, not high hopes. Getting into top 6 is great for them, which is why I still don't think they should have sacked De Rock. I think what is achieved absolutely nothing. Do you know what I mean? It's just left them like rudderless and leaderless for these next couple of matches, and there's been no improvement. If anything, they've gotten worse. And you say, yeah, Anderlecht's playoff start this week when they face those sides around them. Antwerp started with that Ghent game and they didn't win it at home. So yeah, it's just a really, really poor run. And they're not as exciting to watch as they have been in the past. They're not as entertaining to watch as they have been. And I thought they were more entertaining under the Rock than they are at the moment. But yeah, another defeat for them. For Ghent, it's a win finally since making their man permanent in Mihajlovic. So I guess they're still in that hunt with Anderlecht for that kind of 4th spot. But I don't know. Whichever 3 of those teams get in there, they could easily lose that kind of if they can finish 4th and play in 2nd place playoff team. Like, they're so inconsistent. I could see them losing, and we're suddenly ended up with one of those teams from the 2nd playoff in the European spot, which would be hilarious and quite cool for that team, but it'd probably be really bad for the coefficient.
Yeah, I kind of don't know where to start on the Antwerp issue. I mean, we've underlined it over the last few weeks. Winless in 2 months now. I mean, they've conceded 9 in their 3 playoff games so far, which is bad as well. Do you know what I mean? They're in a form of free fall, and there are many forms of free falling. And that one win was in February against Kortrijk. Of all sides as well, so I'm not sure that counts for too much either. I think there's a lot of work for Mark Overmars to do over the summer. If you're an Antwerp fan, you're hoping he has a coaching rabbit ready to be pulled out of his hat over the summer, and is working very hard on that. I'm sure he's talking to a number of people, some of whom are very familiar to us, and it's going to be really interesting to see what road they go down there. They're certainly not responding to Uldering at all. Ben's right about that. If anything, they've got worse. I know the Antwerp fans, or some Antwerp fans, had quite vocal complaints about the style of play under De Rock, and them not being entertaining, not being interesting or good to watch or whatever. But I also agree with Ben. I think things have gone even further backwards for them. I think the few positives in there, the likes of Balikwisha coming back and starting to start games consistently, getting a little run for the first time, and certainly what feels like forever, doesn't feel like a positive really at the moment, because the negatives kind of still outweigh that. So they are a bit of an enigma as to why the bottom's fallen away there. We'll know more over the summer when we know more about what they do with the recruitment and who the T1's going to be next season. Again, I thought they were just more efficient, actually. You know what I mean? They took their opportunities, including the comical one that was gifted to them. Lopez, Samwaz and Vanzier were all pretty good, I thought. I think Lopez is now starting to settle and look more like the player that we know he can be. A big, beefy, commanding midfielder, capable of being good both offensively and defensively. Really good player, as we know. Really, really good player. He was good this weekend, I thought. Ghent will just be pleased to get some points on the board, I think. And that, I think, is their first 3 points in the playoffs since they were last in playoff 1 in 2019, I think, as well. So it's been quite a wait for this moment.
Well, it quite obviously is indeed since their first win in these playoffs since that. But yes, definitely a win they needed. Jumping to 5th now and equal to 4th placed Anderlecht. Next game at home against Club Brugge. That's going to be interesting for sure. The Battle of Flanders, always a bit of spice. And despite twice probably having deserved to lose in the regular colleague, they have taken points of Club Brugge in both occasions. But yeah, also now twice in a month. Ben actually mentioned it briefly already. One at the Bosel with the same scoreline in the matter of a month. After a long period without winning against Antwerp, or especially at the Bosel, going winless for years and years. Definitely. But encouraging for them to win this one. And interesting to see how things pan out. Antwerp, I also don't have that much that you didn't say yet. Indeed, 2 months without a win. So literally 15th of February against Kortrijk was their last win. In this game, Scott saying Gent being efficient, Antwerp were not efficient at all, especially in the beginning before Gent's goal. They were dominating and got a lot of chances. Couldn't convert, then gave away the goal. And after that, Gent created a bit more themselves as well, though. So ultimately, can't say it's an undeserved win, I think, but it's a bit of a miracle that Antwerp did not score, at least in his game. Just the poor finishing. But so there's always a silver lining somehow, I guess. So if they win against Anderlecht this weekend, there is a chance. It's not a given, but there's a chance that the teams placed 4th until 6th are all at the same points tally to create some excitement there at the bottom of the playoffs, of these playoffs as well, for sure. Of course, there's a few factors in there to take, but they do. For them, it's really a game to win to still have a chance on 4th spots, 5th spots, depending on other results as well. But this one is the one they need to win to stay in that race, and that might not be unwelcome that it's against Anderlecht, like we alluded to, like both sides not in the best of forms. It's possible at least that one of them can escape that for at least a week, but who knows? It could also be a 0-0 or something else, another draw.
Yeah, I was about to say 0-0 written all over it. Let's go back to playoff 2, shall we? Another draw, because all these games finished as draws. Mechelen won, Leuven won. As we said earlier, Mechelen couldn't take advantage of Charleroi not winning. So these two sides remain level on 24 points. Leuven and Standard remain level on 22 points. Westerlo on 21, Dender on 20. Lauerbach scored again. I guess that's something to talk about from this game. A couple of goals in a row for him, because I was surprised, Raman's obviously fit and stuff, but they're going with Lauerbach and he's paying them, to be fair. He's doing what he should and needs to do. So that's 6 goals, I think, for the season for him. So he's beaten last year's tally of 5, so that's pretty good. Fluke missed a sitter. He could have definitely won the game for Mechelen if he'd managed to put that one away. Another, like, it's really hard to talk about these games because nothing's changed in playoff 2. Like, we're just exactly where we were a week ago.
Yeah, I mean, I think the thing with Mechelen in this game, so many chances to win, as I was saying earlier, unbelievable. I mean, they've hit Leuven for 5 before, as well, at home. And probably should have done again with their chances. Fred van der Beest afterwards was a little bit frustrated, understandably, with what they created, that they couldn't get that over the line, especially in a home game. I mean, this is one of those games where things are that tight. You do wonder where those 2 drop points in a game where you created so much. Might come back to bite you. We'll see. 3 goals in 2 for Lauberbach now. Somebody's putting something in this guy's water. That's for sure. He's starting to do, as Ben was saying, what he's paid to do. And I'm kind of dumbfounded as to what to say about that, actually, especially if it kind of continues this form, because this is kind of completely come out of nowhere, such as being the paucity of what he tends to offer you. I've never been a fan, and kind of still am not. But yeah, keep it up for the moment, at least to the end of the playoffs. And for Leuven, I thought they were better in the second half. They made more of a contest of the game than they did in the first half. But I just have this thing, and it goes back to this thing that Ben brings up every so often around them. I just want Leuven just to be less mediocre. Next season obviously is when that question will be answered, when they properly become a Chris Coleman side, when they get some more recruitment in the door and all of that. But it's just the mediocrity I find so frustrating. Chris Coleman seems to think they're doing kind of quite well. He was quite positive about that result, talking about how Achterdakkezern's quite a hard place to go, which it absolutely is, at the best of times. So I think he felt that a point under the circumstances was a really good result, and it's certainly a better result for them than it is Mechelen.
Yeah, sorry for this, Scott, but again, Leon, if you need protection from a bald man with a beard and glasses with a Scottish accent, watch out. We can take care of it if needed. But sorry for that, Scott. But again, both Lauberbach and actually Schrijvers as well, more or less in a similar situation. Of course, he's lower on the pitch now, but scoring finally in this season, the last few weeks. Not the first time Schrijvers scored either. Really nice finish in this case as well. But the rest, I don't have that much to say, I guess, as well. Scott already mentioned the inefficiency from Mechelen, indeed. Not only from Mechelen, also it's like both teams could have scored more in this game, with Mechelen scoring more. In that case, it would be the more likely outcome, but somehow it ended 1-1. Banzuzi benched after his transfer now as well. That might also be something to mention. Not completely unexpected either, I guess. And what's also worth mentioning is, of course, the 16th draw of the season. Again, every time they draw, I have to mention the up the tally with Leuven now. I'm still wondering, will they make it until like half of the games drawn or not? I'm starting to think about a bet from that, but it's so far they're just about not but there yet. But they might.
The way these players are going, it definitely could happen. These sides could just draw the rest of their games. A side that probably would have loved to have had a draw were Genk. They ended up losing the big clash of the weekend. They lost that 1-0 to Club with the last gasp penalty from Maxime de Kuiper, although Penders almost did save it. He was so close to saving it, to the point where de Kuiper even said, got lucky that one went in, but it went in. I thought he'd saved it, but he didn't. Mention a little bit last week expected to potentially see Fink go with a bit more experience. I said maybe Huzovsky would start, and he did, so maybe he listened to me. But then he did bring Konechis on after 68 minutes anyway, which I think there's no way you couldn't have brought him on in this game. You need someone like that potentially to provide the spark and stuff. But interesting, isn't it? Like, Joris, obviously we'll go to you first to kind of see if you agree with Fink on this, but he didn't seem too concerned after the game. Like, he's like, yeah, we probably did deserve to lose, but he's like kind of was like quite playing it down. Like, look, we're going home now. We're playing Union. We beat Union. They're a really good team, but we beat them a couple of weeks ago at home. Like, he seemed quite kind of like, it's okay. Like, let's not panic and stuff, which I think is definitely the best thing to do, because if it was me, I'd be panicking. I'd be like, we've lost it. We've messed it up. Like, what are we doing? We've ruined our chances. We're gonna lose. We may as well just phone it in and go home. But that's because I'm a pessimist, and that's definitely why I'm not a football manager, because it'd just be an absolute nightmare. But yeah, Joris, I guess just your kind of like reactions to the game, how you feel. Like, are you kind of worried, or you obviously you can be worried and concerned about the result and how this means for the game, but for the rest of the season. But are you concerned that that's it? Like, the momentum has shifted, and now Club are kind of in the ascendancy, and Genk are kind of going to wither away a little bit and maybe lose to Union, and their confidence has been dented.
Well, there's one aspect in like a first commenting on how Fink reacted. One aspect that is there, like, he kind of has to play it down anyway, at least in the media. So like, whether that's internally also the case, I actually believe so, to be honest, given what we hear from the club and like from what happened in the past. I'm also gonna base my answer to your question to me on that as well. Somehow, like, I mean, I can place it indeed. Like, I mean, they've also Genk so far. I mean, of course, they haven't been under the amount of pressure that are now in the playoffs, and like the rooms of error that are in the playoffs are always higher. But somehow, so far, they've always bounced back after a defeat. So I'm still hopeful. Obviously, it can be that it's not the case. Whether that's down, it's not only down to them anyway as well. They're only good teams in these playoffs. Especially in the next game, they're definitely are good size. But I'm not too worried, indeed. For like, okay, it sucks. It's the worst way they could have lost the game as well, I guess. Ultimately, although I mean, a complete battering would have been worse. Let's put that first, maybe. And I was already happy that didn't happen. Like, there was a percentage in my head that would happen, like a little fear. That was not the case, even though Club Brugge did take over the game. But Genk started really well in the beginning, didn't really take their chances, didn't create as many chances, but often like more like the final ball not going through, like, but still dominating in possession and in the play for the first. I'm gonna overestimate it. It was probably not half an hour, but like the first half of the first half, I guess, more or less, until Club Brugge made a few changes. Also, Van Aken dropping a bit deeper, and they could play a bit more freely from the back as well. And then yeah, then you could see. I mean, I can just I will put it there as well. Like, Club Brugge showed in this game to me that they're the best side. That doesn't mean they win the title, but they are the best side when they're at their best. There's no shame in admitting that either. But yeah, that's they are suffering with having clean sheets. They did get that one this time, and I still feel like I have to admit as well. Like, unfortunately, somehow I missed part of this game where Club Brugge were dominant as well. So like, many of the Bender saves I've actually missed and saw in the highlights. They were good chances, but still. Felt like Genk were defending quite well, which is also a worry I've always had. Like, they gave away a few chances, but like, to be honest, Penders had a good game, but he didn't need to do miracles either. He needed to save a lot more than Mignolet did. Mignolet barely had any work, so I'm a little disappointed in like what Genk created, or at times failed to create, because they sometimes went a bit maybe too safe, playing a bit too much, especially in that second half. Also, understandably, when you feel like, okay, you're a little overrun, you don't want to take too many risks, and you'll be happy with the points. That's whether that's a tactic or like more like when you're on the pitch and you're playing, you feel it like, okay, maybe slow down now, keep the ball instead of trying to go score, take a bit more risks and score that goal, or try to score a goal. Yeah. that's just how it is. That's also why I'm saying like you are at their best, the best side. That they do that. But also another thing that might stop Club Brugge still is like their inefficiency, because it showed in this game as well. They were very inefficient. They did create some chances, but not the big ones. And okay, a few good chances as well, but not that many that you could say like, okay, if it would have been a draw, it would be a complete miracle. That neither. Yeah, and ultimately, it's sad to say that Sadik, he had a very very good game, but it's always something going on there. Yeah, and then the penalty. Okay, I actually don't know if the penalty was. It probably wasn't for the foul on Solis that it was whistled. On that specific one, in the close-ups and so on, and in slow motion, I'm not completely sure, but it was a penalty, not regardless, because of Sadiq pushing Vermont anyway. So for me, that was more the penalty than the other foul that might have been the result. But I mean, doesn't matter in the end. But just there was always something going on there. But yeah, that's like the very annoying statistic, of course, now as well. For the numbers going club's favor mainly as well in the head-to-heads, but also Genk actually not conceding any field goals almost in the last, I think the last 4 goals or something the Brugge scored have been set pieces, some of them even penalties. So yeah, you just that comes of course together with this pressure that they keep giving, and it really sucks that they scored in like only the final minute, when you thought, okay, maybe they've weathered the storm. Also in the build lead up to that penalty, it actually came from an attack from having the ball in the 16 in the 60 meters of the Brugge, losing it there, and then Sadiq definitely should have made the fall immediately at the halfway line. But I mean, so for this game it sucks, but for the rest of the league, I mean, it's very much possible that I get proven wrong, but I am actually still quite calm, and we'll see if they bounce back like they've done in the last few occasions they've lost. It was also Genk's first loss in the league in 2025 as well. So I mean, it's difficult to judge because it's been a while since they had a real setback. Okay, the cup was also one, of course, against the same opponent. That was still in 2025 as well. But apart from that, to be honest, I also approached it like this is the game that you, before the playoffs start, this is the game you think you lose anyway. Like, so like a draw would have been a massive result for Genk, and it's very sad it didn't happen, but nothing's lost because of this. Because of some things I've mentioned in the previous 5 minutes or so, there is a big chance that they won't grab the title in the end, but it won't be because of this game on its own. Okay. That's also why my main worries are not necessarily just results, but more like the few stupid yellow cards that they got at the end as well, around the penalty and the complainings and so on, like with now both Sadelberger and Sadiq already at 2-second yellow cards, so one card away from suspension. Yeah, that's something that worries me a little bit, but the result itself, not really. I mean, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think Genk need to be too worried or panic about the result. I think you can afford one loss in the playoffs somewhere. It's about where it comes ultimately, and they played quite well in the first half. I thought they imposed themselves in the game, which tactically I think was deliberate. Try and hold possession, take a bit of heat out of the game, kind of annoy the home support a little bit. Second half, very different. Club came out really with the intention of really wanting to win the game, even though they didn't actually need to. I think from a psychological point of view, I think they felt winning the game would ask a question of Genk and of Union as well. And I think that's why they were so delighted to kind of, to get the win in the end. It obviously meant quite a lot to them. They really upped the tempo in the second half. Their ball circulation, their variation was really, really good, pulling people out of position, creating the opportunity ultimately that got them the penalty that came so late, frustratingly, for Genk. Penders nearly saved it. He had such a good game, I thought. Really, really strong game. Just unfortunate. He was kind of so close, nearly there. But yeah, I don't think they need to panic. I think the game against Union next is going to be the interesting one, because obviously that's where they have to respond. I think if they drop points in that, then questions will be asked on a number of levels, particularly if the others pick up points, obviously, around them as well. So that in many ways is actually a bigger game now because of this result, and I think that's one of the reasons why Club wanted to win it. It just piles on pressure earlier than it would otherwise do. But yeah, no reason to panic at all. I think they just need to keep calm and carry on, because they still have it in their own hands.
Yeah, it'll just be interesting to see what happens when they face Union next week, because that will be the kind of big tester, the kind of litmus test for the effect of this game on them. I'm going to make the executive decision, guys, that we don't need to talk about Dender Standard Liège, because there's far more interesting things to talk about in the Challenger Pro League, and fans of the Challenger Pro League would probably much rather hear it, and fans of Dender and Standard Liège would probably hear it. So yeah, that one finished 1-1. Nothing's really changed. Let's move on, because yeah, there's way more interesting things happening down in the second tier, because we're into the final match day. And Scott, we spoke about the potential of this situation happening, but I think neither of us thought it was actually going to happen. But yeah, why don't you give us a rundown of what the hell is going on down there at the moment?
Yeah, well, the short version is everybody's bottling it, certainly at the top end of the table, while Ral have been enjoying a few weeks off because of circumstances. Both Zalta and Molenbeek really have been, feeling the nerves a little bit. Matchday 29, of course, Liège beat Patro 1-0, Molenbeek losing to Lommel 1-0, Eupen beating Serang 2-1, Zalta losing 2-0 to Lokeren, Beveren drawing 2-2 with Club Next, RFC Liège beating Young Genk 3-1 in what has been the greatest week for Genk, both the senior side or the development side. Frank Moran beating Anderlecht Futures 3-2. So we're left with this amazing scenario going into the final weekend of the regular season this Friday, where it's a one-game shoot-off. We have 2 automatic promotion spots up for grabs, 3 sides going for them. So get your multi-screens ready, folks, because, excitingly, Zalta are at home to Molenbeek, and Ral go to Lommel. If Ral win, Ral are promoted, and Ral, depending on circumstances that they'll end this arena, could yet become champions as well. So there's all sorts of spice involved here. Molenbeek just need a draw, but that's a very tricky situation to approach this game with. Zalta knowing that a draw might be enough, but that they really need to win it. You would much rather know what you needed to do than keep your options open. So get the multi-screens ready, because let the chaos commence.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's just so ridiculous that this has happened. Shout out to Indy Boonen, though. That goal was nice. Really, really nice goal from him. Lovely curler into the far corner. I just can't believe that happened. And my theory is Molenbeek and Zulte Waregem will draw and Ral will lose. So it will just be as we were. Nothing's going to change. Or they'll draw as well and nothing will happen. So we'll build up to all this drama and nothing's going to change. But yeah, what a crazy. Yeah, all nil-nils around. Before we do go, Joris, I don't know if you want to talk about the RC Liège situation as well, with the Genk young goalkeeper, because that's quite cool.
Boris nil-nils as well, then? Yeah. Yeah. It's crazy. Like, no, actually, I wanted to just mention the situation. Like, this must be so crazy for now La Louvière being in like a better position than they have been in forever without playing. So like the best weekend they've had in a while. So like it's crazy. Yeah, but yeah, on the situation you're alluding to, yeah, of course. I hope I don't get accused to bring in Genk too much. I know I tend to do that sometimes, and young Genk specifically. But in this case, I guess I'm not the only one that has brought it to attention already. Yeah, Prince Davis having his first game as at Young Genk as well between the sticks, and he unfortunately had lost his father in last week somewhere. In when we were close to the final whistle, that there was still a penalty for Liège. He was playing, of course, in front of the sticks, in front of the Liège supporters, and he saved the penalty. He really saved it, and the fans were really applauding him. At that time, I still feel like maybe it was had a bit to do as well. Very slight part with there were a bit of the game was basically won. It was 3-1 already. Final end of the game. The Liège players were fighting a bit amongst themselves. Who would be taking the penalty? Ultimately, the non-fan favorite, I'll describe it like that, I guess, won, and like they were not too unhappy. That's a little factor that played a role there as well. That he missed that. But also after the game, Stevens and the fans had some good moments together as well. So that's still the majority and the main part of this story, the nice part of this story as well. But probably the most heartwarming moment in Belgian football, at least this weekend, and maybe even broader than Belgium. But that's the remarkable debut for sure.
I think one other thing to look out for this weekend as well, because as if the promotion showdown wasn't exciting enough, we still don't know the full composition of the playoffs yet. Will Lokeren squeeze in at Lierse's expense, or will Liers squeeze in at Lokeren's expense? That's another thing to watch out for. So there is that other, the two fixtures involving Lokeren and Liers are worth kind of keeping an eye out for as well. But whatever you do this weekend, watch one of those games. Because these scenarios don't come up very often. And I know, as Ben was saying, we did joke about it because there looked like there were some, wobbles around the edges. We didn't think it was going to get to this stage. I don't think anybody really did. And it's the sort of thing that from a neutral's perspective, we're going to chomp this up all day. This is what we're here for.
Yeah, we've been slightly sport on this podcast with that one a couple of years ago where Antwerp won the title and all the craziness on that final day. So we love a bit of final day drama here at the Belgian Pro League football, the Belgian football podcast. Oh, losing my words. It's been that long. Apart from Joris, probably didn't enjoy that one as much. But we'll skip over that. We won't talk about Genk anymore. Anyway, that probably about does it for this weekend. Who knows what crazy things are going to happen once we publish this and send this podcast out to your ears, because last week everything changed before me and Scott had even been able to record and press play and kind of send it out. But hopefully this time we're ahead of the curve. But anyway, thanks as always, guys, for jumping on. It's been a pleasure sharing all things Belgian football with you the last couple of hours.
It has, and enjoy the chaos on Friday night. I'm looking forward to it immensely.
And happy Easter to everyone as well.
Yeah, enjoy your Easter if you're celebrating, that's for sure. Enjoy your eggs if that's what you eat as well. Especially those of you who've done Lent and given up on chocolate and stuff like that. Just enjoy yourselves. Enjoy yourselves. As Neil Warnock once said, enjoy yourselves but be disciplined. That's for sure. Anyway, thank you as always for listening. If you do like what we do, please do leave us a review on your podcast app of choice. If you really like what we do, consider buying us a coffee as a little Easter treat. You can go to buymeacoffee.com and you can donate to the podcast that way, which helps with any of the little running costs that we have for this. But as always, we appreciate all your listening, and we'll speak to you very soon for another episode of the Belgian Football Podcast.